Hey. You know what time it is. It is 6 p.m. Central Time, Huntsville. I'm coming out of Huntsville, Alabama. And so you know what it is, man. You know what I mean, right? This is not news time. This is not breaking news time. As a matter of fact, I can't use breaking news. I'm going to use explosive news because every time I come on here, I got something explosive to tell you and everybody else. It is Shake Up with Dr. Kit. Hey, here we go. Shake Up with Dr. Kit. Listen, I got to tell my smoothie story. I made some smoothie. I had all kinds of stuff in it. Oh man, you need to get one of my smoothies. It got all kind of good stuff in my smoothie, and I let it sit for a while. I had some in the morning and let some sit because I was gonna have it in the evening, and that bad boy just settled down. All the good stuff just settled about. So I had to shake that thing, shake it, and then it tasted so good. It's always good. Listen, the shake up is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It moves things around, gives it perspective, and it makes it all the elements come together in a supportive manner. That's what we do in the shake up. We don't put people's business on the street. We make it so that people can have a place to retreat, a place to shake up, a place to look at themselves, get that introspective view of themselves, to hear other people's story, live experiences, so that you don't feel like you're in it by yourself. And sometimes we have people who just give you some really good ideas about how to move forward. All right. So this is the Shake Up with Dr. Kitten. So listen, here's what I'm going to say. Listen, we would like you to like this. All right. We want you to like this, follow, share, subscribe, like, follow, share, and like, follow, share, subscribe, like, follow, share, subscribe. That's that. You see, when I sing it, I get crazy like that, but it kind of it sticks right here. Okay. So you sing, they get stick for you too. Like it, follow, share, and subscribe. This is how we get the message out to a lot of people, so that they can feel that there is something and there's an advocate out there. And it's larger than me, because the advocate now becomes you, the viewers, okay? And we like you to like it, follow, share, and subscribe. Also, if you would like to be a part of the Shake Up with Dr. Kit, if you'd like to be considered to be on the show in the future, here's what I'd like you to do. Email my team at drkitspeaks@gmail.com. drkitspeaks@gmail.com. And my team will get you on here. And they will make sure that you are well suited and grooted and everything else. That's when you come on, so you can tell your story. And we get excited when people are willing to do that, okay? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It is indeed your experience. Let me tell you this real quick. Your experience is not subject to the will of science, because an experience is just this. It's yours and it cannot be tested. If you said it, that's the way it is. That's what it is. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so come on, just make sure you come on here. Get in touch with my team. We'd love to have you on. You can be on camera or off camera. Now, listen, I'm going to get right into it. Enough said. Listen, hold a second here. Yeah, I disappeared there for a moment. Today, this is Domestic Violence Month and Breast Cancer Month, October. And so last week we had someone on speaking about breast cancer. This week we have someone on that's going to be speaking about a very sensitive matter again. And this has to do with domestic violence. Now, this might evoke some of your own feelings and some of your own thoughts and some of your own emotions. But if you run away from it, then you're hiding from the part of yourself that needs you to support you. Yes, I said that. You're hiding from the part of yourself that needs you to support yourself when nobody else is available, so you can advocate for yourself. So please don't run away from this. If you see yourself, then you can't drop it, leave it alone, walk away from it. You got to face this thing head on. And that's how you grow. That's how you protect yourself. So this evening, we have someone on here, a fine young lady, wonderful young lady, who is willing to come and talk to us. She's even willing, she might even be willing to share her story. I don't know. But because this is a sensitive matter, let me tell you now, I'm not going to push her in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to let this be a free flowing conversation. And please utilize the chat. Support her in the chat. You may even want to say, hey, I've been there in the chat, however you want to support her. So do that for her. Do that for us. Do that for the thousands of others, millions of others who are out there. Okay. Now, before we bring her on, listen, let me just read a couple of things here for you about domestic violence. It says about 29% of women and 10% of men, yes, men in the United States have experienced rape, physical violence, or stalking by a partner, which has adversely impacted their daily functioning. This stuff is really deep. It will impact your daily functioning. Nearly 15% of US women, or 14.8%, and 4% of men have suffered injury due to intimate partner violence. Significant other, might be a friend. It may even be your spouse. Due to intimate partner violence, including rape, physical violence, and or stalking. So there's just a lot of this. So I'm not even going to do. There are more. There are more stats that we could talk about. But I really want to get to my guest. So right now we are going to bring on my guest, and she will introduce herself to you. She's going to tell you everything she feels comfortable talking about. I hope she's going to start out with her name so we can put a name to the face. Well, hello. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, look at that lovely smile you got there. Listen. Well, I don't know. I really don't know. So I'm not going to pretend like, well, I know. I don't know what your experience was like. So I just want to thank you publicly for just being here. So the rest of us are humbled that you would pull the veil apart and just let us into your life to a little bit. Okay. So please go ahead, introduce yourself, and then just take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Francis, for that warm welcome, as well as just letting me know that you understand my situation. I'm Tamika Green. I am a global HR business partner for a tech company. And so that's my job by day, but by night, I do my best to help other minorities learn how to become and grow their career as a human resources professional. Outside of my profession, and with that, I also have a YouTube channel myself, Hey HR, as well as IG. And outside of that, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, and I'm also a domestic violence survivor.
Okay. All right. Ooh, you do a whole lot. But yeah, you're a mother. Well, motherhood. What was that like for you, motherhood? Let's just start there before we kind of dive into that. Talk about some of those nice, good parts of you.
Oh man, nice good parts, huh? Let me add, I was a single mother. So I
Okay,
don't know.
listen. It doesn't matter because I'm going to tell you this thing here. Some of the strongest women and most successful mothers are single mothers, because as one single mother put it to me, and this is the way she said it. She said, I was able to raise my child by myself because I did not have the distraction of her father.
Wow. Amen. Amen.
Yeah. She said that. I said, wow, okay.
Well, it took me a couple years to get past that. And it's funny you've mentioned my motherhood, or being a mother, and her father, because that's where I struggled. That's where I had been a victim of domestic violence with my daughter's father. So with raising my daughter, it's been a pleasure, because I initially was scared. I was I was in my freshman year of college, going into my sophomore year, found out I was pregnant, and through some struggles, we decided to go on with parenthood because we had already decided we were going to break up, and so I didn't feel like that's the reason we should stay. But we rekindled later on when my daughter was about 3 months old, and initially it was a rough start, and so I'm okay with us talking about that. But as time went on, my daughter has always been the drive behind me doing so much. She's been the drive behind so much of my success, and I will say that and more so than fighting to be a good mother, which I feel bad I don't feel like if I could do it again, I'd do things differently. More so, I was fighting against statistics. I didn't want to be a young African American that didn't finish school, that wasn't successful because she had a child out of wedlock. I just didn't want to fall into that statistic. And so I grind and I grind and I grind. And I'm proud to say that I now have a 20-year-old that has her own apartment, that has a really good career, that has her own car, and she's doing really well for herself. I'm really proud of her. I know I don't say it as much as I should. I'm constantly working on ways to parent her where I'm constantly giving her those verbal affirmations. But she's definitely been a drive behind all of my success, behind me pushing forward, behind me, in my opinion, being where I am today. And I'm pretty happy about where I am today.
Mm. Wow. Okay, from one domestic violence survivor to another, thank you for your strength and vulnerability. And you have not even started yet. Thank you, April, for that. Thank you, April, for just
Thank
being
you,
so
April.
supportive. Just so supportive.
Mhm.
But let me just push this up, the single motherhood here a little. You know that the way that I see it is that motherhood is not something that you do. It is an experience of yourself,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm. I totally agree. I
And I can
totally
see
agree.
the experience of you coming through in the smile. When did you notice how you smile when you talk about your daughter and her success?
Because I know if she's watching right now, she'd be like, "Oh, really?" Yeah, yeah. I absolutely love my girl. That's the one that I gave birth to, and then she would say in a heartbeat, "No, Riley's your baby," and that's my Shih Tzu that is like a second child for me. So she would always say, "My dog is more of my child than she is." But she's a strong girl. She can master anything. I'm very, very proud of her. Beautiful girl. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I still sit sometimes and amazed that I created her. With a little help, of course.
Yeah,
Oh,
but you know what though? Even though she say that the little doggy is your real dog, but listen, I think you have done such a wonderful job that she can say it doesn't matter how many other substitutes she might have, dogs or invite other people into her life. She realized that you and her are bone of each other's bones and
mhm,
flesh of each
mhm.
other's flesh. It doesn't get any, more significant than that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really is. It really is that. So I just want to thank you, for just sharing that part of your life, your motherhood. And I don't know, did you ever share your story with her?
Oddly enough, um, when I got about 5 years post this situation, I
Mhm.
finally shared it with my mother and my sisters. When I got about 10 years later, my church asked me to speak for Children's Day, and I was open to doing that. And so I shared that story with the church back then, and help in hopes of like helping young kids as they go into college because I was definitely my freshman year in college when this happened. I never said who it was during that time, but when I created this, I created a video. My plan was to create one video about my story, but I didn't realize how much I couldn't make it through one story. So I ended up creating two more videos to finish tell about the three episodes that were literally where my life was just challenged by his hands. And so when I did that, my daughter was home and I had to take a break after I told the first story. It broke me apart so bad that I was like, I just need a minute. And when I walked out, my daughter was there in the house, and I mean, my face was covered from crying. My makeup was a mess, and I said to her, I said, "Hey, um, I did this video, and it's about your dad, and I had some trying times with him. I want you to watch it before I publish it to my page. And if you think I did too much and I shouldn't put it online, then that's cool." And she said, "Well, what was it about?" And I briefly told her. I said, "Well, you remember when I spoke about it in church?" I said, that was your father." And she said, "You know what? Tell your story. Put it on your channel. Maybe you'll help some other people." And she watched it later outside my presence with a couple of her friends. And she said that she feels like that's where I carry such a tough exterior. And I
Mm.
and many other people would say no. They're like, "What tough exterior?" Like I see Erin, she's one of my amazing followers. And I know to them they would be like, "I don't see any tough exterior." But to my daughter, she feels like she sees it every day. And I can imagine I'm more tough on her than anybody else. So with her, um, she said she understood. We talked about it, but I think that it's something she's still struggling with because it is her father and he has been in her life for a long, long time. And when she got about 14, 15, he literally said to me, and I found out later, he said to her that he no longer wanted to be a dad. He felt like I was her mother and her father, so I should do it. And I think she struggled more with that right now than what I experienced. So she was aware, she knows. I feel like we're both struggling through how to manage, you know, moving forward. Um, because for her, I feel like it's still fairly new. I mean, I just told her last year for myself and validated this, and I think it's still new for her to process. Especially like you said, being a mother is an experience, right? So
It
we've
is.
had some hills, we've had some
Yeah.
valleys, and through that time, we raising as I'm raising a baby, that's my first time. As I'm raising a toddler, that's my first time. As I'm raising a middle schooler, a high
Yeah.
schooler, a college age child, now an adult, it's my first time each time. So we've had our struggles through those. So I feel like it's a lot for her to like manage all at the same time. I pray that every step I make with myself, my life, my experiences, her father, that when she gets to that point where it's needed, it works best in her life. So um, that's just kind of where we are. But I don't want to leave your audience in the dark. I appreciate my audience for showing up. They know I love them to pieces. If you guys are in here supporting us, do us a huge favor and tell us hello by giving us a purple heart. They know I love me a good old purple heart.
Good.
And so they're aware of my story. I'm absolutely fine with sharing it with your audience because I like them to understand um, where I what I went through, right? So I think sometimes we look at where somebody is now. We look at, oh, she looks amazing. She has a great background. We look at all these aesthetic things, and we sometimes don't realize the path they traveled to get there. And so I'm absolutely fine with sharing my story. Y'all bear with me if this becomes difficult for me because I'm gonna push through. Like you said at the beginning, I feel like this is a part of my therapy, and I feel like this is where I grow. Um, when I started college, those were some trying times to me. Thank you so much, y'all. Those were some trying times for me.
Excellent. All right.
They're in there. Oh, y'all are so
Indeed.
sweet.
Okay.
Um,
Keep it up. Keep doing
and
it. Okay.
and so it was difficult. Um, I was introduced to my daughter's father because I went to college with his sister. And so when I initially met him, we were young and 20 years old, and you look at the outside, you're like, yes, let's do it. And so I went forward with this relationship, and as we would continue dating, it became happy times for both of us. And he had said to me, he said, I don't think we should talk anymore. And I said, okay, cool. And I said, well, why? What's making you think this? What? Why? Where did this come from? We having a good time, and life is grand. And he was like, that's the problem. It's too good. He was like, I've never had anybody love me and care for me the way that you did.
Mm,
Never had anybody give me the comfort in my skin the way that you do. I've never had anybody constantly tell me positive things the way that you
mm.
do. He was like, and I know I'm gonna mess it up. And so That was new. I was young. I was like, "Child, I'm a nobody." And so I said, "Well, Imma give you your space. I'm always here to be your friend. If at any time you wanna reach out, reach out. Like, I'm here." And so we decided, like young, aggressive people are, "Well, let's do one more time for the road." And hence comes my daughter. And he said, we were back and forth about if we should become parents. Maybe we shouldn't, and more so me. He was like, absolutely yes. So this is probably the red flags, like the new generation, I say, the red flag. So that was probably my first red flag. My second red flag, right? He giving me the warning. Now I move forward with the child, and this becomes a big argument between me, him, and his mother on if I should continue with having this baby, because I was going to terminate the pregnancy. And there was a lot of threatening, a lot of back and forth, and I was just like, forget it. I'm gonna have this baby. I just totally felt like we weren't ready. I felt like we as young people just weren't prepared enough to be parents. I'll even take the selfish approach and say I wanted to finish college. I wanted to have the American dream with the white picket fence before I said I do, or at least have that simultaneously before I had a child. And so I went forward with it, and I decided, well, I'll move back home with my mother because I was very, very sick through my pregnancy. I was pregnant for 8 months and I was sick as a dog for 7 of those 8 months. Kept pushing the class
Mm,
and going home. And finally, I said, okay, my baby is about 3 months old. I finally get approved for public housing. So I said to my mother, because I'm from a Southern family. So my mother's always said, if you decide to have a baby, then be prepared because every woman need their own kitchen. So I was like, I know I got to move out. I'm on borrowed time. I'm on borrowed
yeah.
time.
Uh,
And so I decided, okay, housing has came open. It's close to the school. I lived about 45 minutes away, 45 minutes to an hour away from College of Charleston, which is where I went to school. And so I was like, okay, if I go live downtown Charleston, that make life easier with the baby. I know his family was very, very supportive already. And so we went and we thought we were living life together. Living in public housing, you aren't supposed to bring anyone in that one isn't on the lease, and two, you're supposed to report their income. We didn't do that. We're gonna break the rules because we want to be a family. And so we went through with that, and there was a lot of emotional abuse and a lot of mental abuse long before the physical abuse came. We stayed in that apartment for about a year and a half, 2 years, and more than anything, reflecting now, the 40-year-old me looks back and say, "Girl, there were a lot of things you ignored." The young me thought that came with a relationship, that came with being with him, and so I went through, and I was my car had broken. So he moving with me, no car, no place to stay, nothing. Listen, let's do it. And so my car had broken, left us with no car. But he lived so close to work, he would just walk to work, or his coworkers would pick him up. And that would leave me getting up at 6, sometimes 5 in the morning, putting my baby in this carrier and walking for blocks to
mm,
get from one side of downtown Charleston to the other side. I'm walking through the projects, I'm walking through the homeless people. It's dark as ever, it's cold. When I tell you I would walk for at least 6 to 8 blocks to get her to daycare and then turn around, go another 10 to 12 blocks to get to class, and then walk that 12 blocks back to the daycare and then back home.
mm, mm.
And so I was like, okay, cool. This is what we're gonna do because we're not stopping school for a broken car. We got this. We got ABC voucher to take care of daycare. I'm just gonna have to babysit more, pick up more hours at school to be able to get the money to pay for my car. And so one day I'm walking from College of Charleston going to the daycare, and his brother-in-law passed by, and so he honked the horn, and I waved, and I would leave the carrier at the daycare, so I'm just walking with my school stuff, and he's like, well, what's going on? Why you walking? And I said, my car broke. And he was like, so you walking? Like, to him, he just couldn't believe how far I was walking. And I said, ain't got no choice. I don't have money for a cab every day. And so he was like, okay, because there was no Ubers back then. It was like either I can call the man that would give me the $5 rate, or I had to pay by the miles, and I couldn't afford to pay by the miles. I called the man for the $5, and if he's not available, that's what I had to do. If I didn't have the $5, that's what I had to do, because it was many times I just didn't have the $5. So he gave me a ride, and while we were riding to the daycare, My daughter's aunt called him, which is his wife, and I'm of a Southern style where I'm like, one, I should have asked her if I could catch a ride with her husband in her vehicle. But since that didn't happen, let me at least be courteous and say, hey, so and so. Because I can, back in the day, you could really hear on the phone someone else when they called. And so she like, I could hear her voice go like a questionable high, like, hey, who's that? And he was like, oh, that's Mika. And she was like, oh, and I could see him and hear him turn the volume down. And then he said, okay, okay, I'll be there in a minute. And they hung up. And I was like, everything okay? And he was like, yeah, 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 you family. We ain't gonna leave you walking, da da da. I was like, okay, cool, I appreciate it. But that made me feel some type of way. The odd thing about it is he had came with my daughter's he came to my daughter's first birthday party and he had the googly eyes for my cousin. So we're riding in a car where he's like, tell your cousin I said what's up, da da da. So because it wasn't working out for him and my cousin, he kept calling me for me to like kind of coax my cousin into talking to him. So he'd say, "You got a ride today?" No. Okay, I'll take you to work. I'll take you to pick Nasia up. And um, each time the conversation was, "You talk to your cousin? I called her." Da da da. So now I get back home this particular day, and this was the very first time that the physical abuse started, where my daughter's father and my mother share the same birthday. So this was my first time in life not going home to spend time with my mother. My plan was, okay, I'll spend time with him because it's his birthday. So I'm preparing birthday cake and cookies and what are we gonna do to celebrate? And there's no him. I'm like, okay, maybe he's coming home late from work. And so I call his sister, I call his mom. I'm like, hey, we're gonna celebrate his birthday. Y'all should come by. And each person either had something they wanted to do, or you could hear in their tone they just didn't want to be a part of it. So I was like, okay, well, I know my family's not driving all the way from the country for this. We're just gonna celebrate the three of us. And as time go on, the cookies get cold, the cake is still sitting in the case. Hours go by, and I decided, you know what? I don't know when he's coming home. We'll celebrate when he gets there. So I'm going to go upstairs and I am going to put my baby to sleep and I'm going to study.
Take your time. You're doing good. You're doing really well. Just slow it down. Turn your camera off if you have to and take a moment. We'll wait on you. This is your time. So just do what you need to do to take care of yourself, okay?
I appreciate that.
Good.
Whew. So I get upstairs, I put my baby to sleep, and I'm in the room and I'm studying. And I hear him come in nearly midnight. And when he walked in, I was kind of in shock, like because we had such a great time, I thought, in our relationship that I just couldn't imagine what was the reason he wasn't home for his birthday. And as I gave him a minute, he walked in and he said, what happened to the celebration? And I said, well, you weren't here. Your mom said no. Your brother didn't answer. Like, I'm going through the laundry list of all of this stuff I thought I had prepared. And he was like, nah, I heard that you were with his brother-in-law. And I said, yeah, we were planning a birthday for you. We're planning this concert to go to this concert, which I had already talked to him about this. Like, this concert's after your birthday. I'm gonna present you with the tickets. Um, and I said, and he said, well, where everything else at? You didn't get anything for me? Child, I was so broke. I used food stamps to get the cake and the cookies and the ice cream.
Mm.
And I said, well, all my money went on getting these tickets. Um, but if you want to do something else, we can instead of waiting for this concert. And instead of replying, he picked up the house phone and he literally threw it at me. It hit me so hard. I thought he hit me with a brick.
Mm. Mm.
And before I can even recover, He took the whole bed, the mattress and everything, and just slid it to him. And he grabbed me by my foot and just started pounding. And I'm literally screaming for my life. And the projects that we lived in, the public housing, was always busy with people outside, particularly at night. This night, there was no one in existence. There was no noise, there was no sirens, there was no music. There was no doors opening and closing. And I mean, he just pounded, pounded, pounded. So I said, you know what? If I can get to my daughter, because in my mind, him and my daughter look like twins. And I said, maybe he'll see our child and stop. So I'm like trying, but the projects, it didn't have carpet, it didn't have nice floors. So it's difficult to get a grip. And at the same time, I'm like dodging blows. And I'm terrified to hit him back because I can see he's enraged. And I'm just like, stop, stop. Like, give me a minute. What's wrong? Like, what can I do? And I ran to my daughter's room and he was like, you better not bother that child. She's sleeping. And I grabbed her and I just held her. And he came up to me and he was like, I told you not to grab that baby. You crazy? And he's left-handed. So he just started wailing on me and I'm just trying to move my child. So I realized, hold on, Mika, you got your child in danger when I'm seeing the blood splatter across the walls and on the floor. So I put her in the carrier and I went to go run downstairs because I'm like, maybe nobody hears me. If I can get downstairs and just yell, maybe somebody will come. And as I'm trying to go downstairs, I fall going down head first and my t-shirt just like catch the banister. And I said, please, please don't do this. I'm gonna die because it's a project. It's cement. The stairs are all cement. Everything in there is just brick. And I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. And he was like, you ain't gonna die till I kill you. And I was like, you know, what you gonna do if I die? What we gonna do with this child? And he was like, when I kill you, I'll kill us too.
Ooh, wow.
And I feel like he could just see I had no more fight in me. And I was just like kind of surrendering. And he just finally like grabbed me and pulled me and he sat me down and he was like, I'll be back. And he just left. So when he left, I'm shaking up, I'm terrified. You know, even when he first came in, I had asked him if I could call my mother to tell her happy birthday. And I thank the Lord every day that I did that because when I did that, you know, you can't ring the alarm and be like, yo, mama, this dude look crazy. I think he about to do something. I just said, hey, mama. And she said, hey. And I said, I was just calling to tell you happy birthday. And she said, okay, well, I talk to my mother every day, all day. And so to her, I knew that was enough of an alarm to say something isn't right. But by the time he left, he had already not only broke the house phone by throwing it on me, he took the cell phone and literally threw it on the ground. So I had no way to call home. Again, my car was broken. I'm in the city. I'm a country girl. I'm terrified to go outside, particularly in the projects at midnight when it's like dark. No one's out there that I know. And so I'm like, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Like now my mother can't get me. What do I do? And I stayed in there for about maybe 2 or 3 hours before I was just like, well, crazy, you can't sit here and wait on him because if he tried the first time, you gonna wait and let him be successful the next time. So I took my daughter's little tiny book bag and I just filled it with like diapers and wipes and formula. And I'm rummaging through all my stuff trying to find money because by this time I'm trying to get to a payphone that tells us how long ago this was. And the closest payphone I can think of was about 6 or 7 blocks away. Again, this is like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I got to go through a whole nother project that I don't know nothing about to get to this payphone. And so I'm like, okay, let's find all the money I can. When I found the money, back then the phone was 25 cents to make a call. And all I could have found was somewhere around 35, 65 cents. So I was like, okay, you're gonna have to make this call your best call because you only got 2 calls. So I used the phone, and of course I can't call home because my home is so far away that that's not considered a local call. So who can I call here in the city? Because all I used to be around was like my friends from college and his family. I don't want to tell anybody. So luckily, I said, you know what? Call my sister's house. And my sister's house is a local domestic violence shelter here in Charleston, South Carolina. And when I called them, I told this lady, I said, hey, I'm okay. Everything's cool. Because I had gotten this flyer at school, and I didn't feel like I was in the point where I needed their assistance. But I just said to myself, I don't know what might happen. Again, I think it's just the Lord. Um, and so I had their number there. And so when I called her, I said, I don't think I need that kind of assistance. Like it ain't that bad. I just need a place to stay for the night for me and my daughter. And she said, why? And I said, her dad's upset. I don't know what it is. And I just am terrified to be there when he returns. And I was like, but it ain't that serious. Like he's never done this before. Um, it's my apartment. I can just tell him to leave. And she let me go through this whole like denial. And she finally said, but you got 2 options. She said, but first let me ask you where you're from. And I said, I'm from McClenable, South Carolina. And she said, ooh, you're a long way from home. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, so you got 2 options. You can either come and stay here for up to 90 days or just the night if you like, or we can get you a ride home. And I was like, please, I think y'all are amazing. I thank you so much for sharing this. But I want to go home. And so she got the police to come out, and she told me the signals to let them know that that was me and I was safe and I was alone. And he got me and we went back to the house. And when we got back there, by this time, they had CSI there. There were just police cars everywhere. They were moving in silence. It looked like the movies with the big jackets. And they were like, don't go in. We'll tell you when you can come in. And they went in with all the flashlights and they checked all around. And luckily, he wasn't there. We grabbed some items and I went to my mother's house. I got to my mother's house about 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I got there, I was so thankful I had called my mom because I hadn't talked to her since I called her before he started fighting me. And we used to get into our house through the back door. The front looked dark as ever. We had no neighbors for at least a mile on each side. And so the police officer drove around the back. And when I got around there, I just saw my mother in the kitchen window washing dishes. And that was just a sigh of complete relief. I just thought to myself, I'm safe now, man. I'm good. Like, I was like, I'm good. And as I'm walking up the stairs to get into the house, I started thinking to myself, I didn't want to tell mama about this because she had told me to leave that boy alone. And so I was like, but how do I hide all these bruises? Because I don't think my baseball cap would hide it. Second thing is, my mother knew I wasn't a baseball cap wearing type of girl. And so I walked in the door and I had the baby and I said, hey, mom. And she said, hey. And I said, my car broke. She said, yeah. And I said, so that's why they gave me a ride. She said, okay. And my mother isn't one to pry. She gonna let you talk about it when you want to talk about it. She's not gonna bother you with it. So I said, Mama, I'm so tired. She said, I know you are, baby. She said, go put that baby down and get ready for bed. I said, yes, ma'am. And as I'm walking away, she said, I told you that boy was jealous because I know what it's like to be with a jealous man. And I said, yes, ma'am. And I went to sleep that night. Um, and the next morning, my phone was broken where I couldn't make calls on it and stuff, but I could see calls coming through and I could see part of text and it kept ringing from this number I didn't know. I read the text message and it was the victim's advocate who had said to me in one of the text messages, and this is why I absolutely appreciate you talking about statistics, because statistics, along with my sister's house, saved my life. Um, when I finally looked at the message, she said, "Please give me a call at your earliest." This is Charleston County's victims advocate. I pick up my mom's house phone and I called and she said, "How are you?" And I said, "Just tired, exhausted. My face is burning. My neck is burning." I said, "And I think my bruises have swollen, but I hadn't even like looked in the mirror yet. I could just feel them." And so she said, "So what's your plan?" And I said, "Well, I'm going back home. That's my house." He has to go. And she said, "Okay, so what's your other plan?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna put my daughter back in daycare." And I said, "I just need to stay here for like a night, give him some time to calm down and I'm gonna get my car fixed." And she said, "Okay." She said, what else you plan on doing?" And I said, "That's all I could think of so far." And she said, "Well, I need you to help us get him." She said, "I saw the pictures from last night. I have the police report. Um, and we gotta get him." And I said, "Well, ma'am, I ain't got nothing to do with that." And she said, "Well, I just want you to know that typically by the second time that we go to a house for this type of situation, the victim is dead." And she said, "South Carolina is the third highest state, and we fluctuate between the second to the fifth."
Mhm.
And that made me help her grab him. And that was the first of three times that he attempted. So I won't go into so much detail with the other stories because I barely made it through that one. But what I will say is that we hear so many lingos, we hear so many stats, we hear so many things, particularly during Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that it almost becomes cliche for us. But one thing that I've heard over and over and over and over again is that the most difficult time, the most vulnerable time for the victim is when they're escaping. And in that time period, from that first time, I knew I needed to make a change. As I was thinking through this change, processing where I get the money from to move and what will I do once I move out here and changing my baby's daycare and all of this other stuff, um, he had tricked me back to my apartment after he got released from prison, from jail. After he got released from jail, and he tricked me into the apartment one day. If you guys want to see the story, I've shared it on my channel. Um, and when he tricked me back then, um, he played Russian roulette, where he put one bullet into the gun and asked me a series of questions. And each time he felt like I lied, he clicked. And this happened twice. And the last time, I just started praying because I was a Southern girl and all I knew was the Lord. And I just started praying so hard. And I only thing I could remember is that I prayed so hard, like I had seen my mother pray growing up. My mother would pray in the house by herself. She didn't need any music. She didn't need anything. We were in the country. We didn't have cable TV. We had one TV in our house. And she would just pray. Sometimes she cut that TV off and just prayed. And I just prayed like her with him in front of my face and was able to talk him into putting the gun down. And when he took the bullet out, the next round was the bullet. So if I had decided to keep answering questions and not pray to the Lord, that was definitely a time he could have taken me out. I decided to pack up and get the heck up out of there. And as I was planning for that move, and I had gotten a family friend to help me move everything, definitely during the daytime. He called me when we were just done loading up the U-Haul truck and said to me, "Hey, what you doing today?" And I said, "Oh, just chilling." And he was like, "Yeah, look like you're moving." I had no idea he was watching me. And so I decided that was going to be my last night in that place. I had left enough to make a pallet and some clothes in the closet. And I was so exhausted from moving. I was like, I'm going to just leave in the morning. And that night he came and I woke up to a pillow over my head where he was trying to suffocate me. And so I challenge you guys that if you in any situation where your life is being jeopardized, where you feel it isn't right. I know it's hard to talk to people. You can't tell me to me it's hard. I know it's hard. I know how hard. This is almost 20 years later and I feel some type of way. Just get out. Get out. Go to the safest place you can. And when people call y'all, so for the people who might not be victimized, when somebody call you and you see them not being themselves, you see them asking for favors that they don't typically ask for. Don't ask no questions, just help.
Okay.
Oh man, Dr. Francis. Oh man.
Listen. Look, go on. I this is not like having a conversation about something. Let me just say this to those that are online. You're not telling a story. I want you to understand that Tamika is not telling a story. You can tell a story about a story about a story, and the emotions is just to fit the story. Tamika is sharing a part of herself that is so intimate that giving her the time to herself, it is so important. So Tamika, I'm here. I'm not trying to run away from you. I know enough about this stuff to give you the time you need. Because viewers, this is not a story. It is her experience. And what she's telling you may sound like a story. It's only because she cannot tell the story the way she experienced the experience when she had the experience. So Tamika, for you to be going through this to tell the story, you had to make it conscious. And when you make it conscious, you got to get in touch with the pain. And that will then evoke what's going on right now, which is your tears.
You know,
I know you said that. I know you said that there are more, but Tamika, taking care of yourself is so important. You can always come back.
yeah. I look at the chat and I see my girlfriend's mother in there. And I remember her daughter got married when I was in this relationship. And I didn't share this back then, but me begging to go to her daughter's wedding became a big thing in my house. And for years, her daughter has always said, "Why do you come to the wedding? Why do?" And it's so difficult for me to just say, I couldn't come. I wanted to meet it. I couldn't come. I didn't want to trigger him. And we talked about that wedding for the longest time. And he made up every reason why we couldn't go. We had to go to his cousin's wedding. We had to go to his aunt's house. I remember that so clearly. So I've talked to my girlfriend Jamaica about this, but I pray that her mother shares this with her so she can understand that I wanted to be there. So that's why I tell you guys, when y'all see someone not being themselves, don't ask questions, just help.
Yes. 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 Oh, Don Green, she's digging in the past to help prepare someone for the present and future. We appreciate your vocalizing your experience. And I love that word, Don. It is not a story, it is an experience. For us, we hear her experience, but we cannot experience her experience the way she experienced it. And I love that word you put there, Don. And
Thank you, Don.
listen, the viewers are with you. The viewers are with you.
Well, it's so funny because that viewer right there is my cousin, and I'll be standing as his best lady in his wedding on Saturday. So yeah, yeah. Thank you, oh man, he's helped me. He's helped me so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, I see so many names in here that are not only people that are subscribers to HR, but I also see so many family members. And I thank y'all so much for your support, y'all. It means so much to me. I thank y'all so much for the Purple Hearts. I talked to a few people today, and this usually interviews are nothing for me to do them or to be interviewed. But this one rattled my feathers. Your assistant that I had the pleasure of meeting before we started. Oh boy, I was just back and forth. Can I see the questions ahead of time? Can we? What are we going to talk about? Because I thank you for 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 the offer to be here. I've watched you on Love and Marriage Huntsville. I have always admired your approach with that cast and with that group. I know that's their real life that you're experiencing with them, and that made it a lot easier to come on here. I think this is the way the Lord moved because if it was anybody else, I would have said no. But I
Mhm.
knew that you would handle my experience with care. I thank you so
Yes.
much for that.
Yes. You're absolutely.
Ah,
I thank you so much. I've dealt with this kind of stuff before, and I know that your tears is not some casual water that's coming down. People don't decide to cry. And when you cry, it's a moment of respect to say, I must let you do this without interruption. So I really do appreciate this. This is not
thank
a
you.
moment of weakness. This is a moment of power.
Ah,
You may not feel like you're a very powerful person, but you're all those
ah,
people who follow you, they know, they see strength when your daughter, your daughter, hearing how you hugged her, even at the peril of your own life, you were saying, I will hug you with my last breath. That is love. That's what the Bible means when it says, you are bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. I will die taking care of the bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Tamika, it doesn't get any closer than that. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story. You look, oh, Tamika, if I can just say this, behind all of this, I have to know that it has taken more out of you tonight than what you had planned to give.
ah. This been a challenge, Dr. Francis. Oh
Yes.
my God. And you got me doing it before an audience, child, Lord.
No.
But I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord because my like, October 7th was not only my mother's birthday, but that was the 19-year anniversary that I survived. Yeah, it took me some time to get out of there, but I just look at just that time like I could have totally been gone. I'm so thankful when I'm able to help my mentees and my clients, and even through my videos, I'm able to help my family, able to help my friends. Like when they call me for something like, "Hey, just send me a bill." Like you don't understand how much it just warms my heart to be able to help others. Because I guess
Mhm.
that's still a 20-year-old me who just wanted some help without questions, who wanted some guidance without, you know, feeling like I was at fault. I reached out to a family member back then, and I felt like I was re-victimized because I was told that that was my fault, and I kept my mouth closed ever since. And
Mhm.
so I think that the difficult part about it is, you know, they always say that you get to the best success when you force yourself to be uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to do something uncomfortable to get somewhere else. And I just wonder if this is the uncomfortable the Lord is making for me to do something that I wish had happened for me, where someone had just give me some guidance, give me some help, give me some direction. And so I mean, again, if I just help one person walk out, if I just help one person say, you know what, I still have life after this, because I was so busy just thinking about getting out of that situation. I didn't think about life before. And now I look at it in the way God has navigated my life, because my career is something I didn't plan to do. I thought I'd be a doctor, or when I had my daughter, I said, okay, I'll be a nurse. Now I'm an HR professional. I love it. In the last 11 years, I don't feel like I'm going to work. I always feel like it's just a part of my life, part of my daily routine. I enjoy what I do. Now I'm in a space of being this career coach and content creator and things like that. And I thank my audience so much, because it's because of them. When they schedule calls with me, they would tiptoe around the idea of them being currently victimized or had been victimized. Um, but you recognize yourself in a lot of people, and when they say certain things, they get
Mm,
comfortable enough with me to say different things, and I'm like, everything okay? And I
mm.
think that people look at me and they think that I'm gonna judge, or they think, oh, she's a fake YouTuber, or she's this, she's that. I just and they do just like I do. Let's skirt around that conversation. And I literally finally had one client that said to me, um, Tamika, I literally just left my husband of however many years because I just got tired of being his punching bag. And that helped me so much, because I was like, you know what? She had the strength to tell me, but I've had other clients who didn't. And maybe I need them to realize, like, I feel you. I understand you. Um, I've had even employees that come in, and I see managers or directors ready to like write them up or get them in trouble in some type of way to make it, what can we do? They've done this, they've done that. And I see signs of what I used to do, and I would battle for them. So I pray that if you guys if anybody could be a help to somebody, you could be the way I tried to be, for years now to help me heal. I've always said I would donate and help at my sister's house. So my sister's house is an amazing organization, and so I have been on their board of directors. I have volunteered as a career coach for them. I volunteered as a victims advocate. I volunteered as a court advocate. I've given clothes when they do drive-bys. I've said help people prepare for interviews. So the things I'm doing today, I've been doing for so long, because that was my way to give back until I can get to the point where I could give back financially. And so when I got to there, thank God I was able to do that too. And I've watched some people that I walk in Walmart and I'm like, I'm so happy for you. Maybe I was, I've helped them along the way and they're in a different place. But I also feel bad for so many people, because I think the law that I guess in my situation, I've always looked at it as not being that serious or not being that difficult or not being that bad, because I've seen some other victims who I feel, had several surgeries, 7 surgeries in the last 3 months, because he took a ladder and just like hit her across her face. I've had people who literally weren't able to walk the same because he hit her so much on her hips. And I kept saying, but Mika, you're not that bad. It's okay. Other people had it worse. Um, but when I did that video, I realized, like, man, girl, it's almost 20 years later and this thing still bothers you. Still bothers you. So I pray that you guys know that this healing is a journey. Ain't nothing you can do overnight.
Listen, oh, Glory said God was always with you,
Yeah.
my lady. Today you're victorious. Oh, love that word. He had strengthen you to bring you to this very moment to share with others that you too can live. Thank you so much, Glory. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. But
Thank you, Chloe.
let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. Sometimes we wonder why we go through what we go through
Mhm.
without any provocation. I want you to hear what I'm saying. You know, God, in his infinite wisdom, this might not be easy to swallow for you or a lot of other people, but God, in his infinite wisdom, he says, I'll never leave you, I'll never forsake you. He knows what you can bear, and he knows when to step in. And so I don't know, but it's possible that he chose you because he knew that you had the kind of a dependency on him through. Oh, I just love to hear you talk about your mother, a praying mother, a praying mother. You said that several times. Mama, thank you. Thank you. And so God chose you to do this, to be his foot soldier, so that you would be strong enough to tell people what somebody else would have jumped ship on. It may not be easy. It may not feel great at this time. But sometimes when we're going through the fiery furnace, like Daniel, like the three Hebrew boys and Daniel and the lion's den, you know, it's not easy stuff. But if God chooses you to do something, you can bet your last dollar he's going to walk with you. Like David says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not forsake you. It may be so hard, but I am here. If you just look around through your eyes of faith, you'll see me. You will see me. And so God has brought you to this place where you are a spokesperson for so many people who would have had the capacity to come here and talk about it. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
God has blessed you. And that's why you're thriving so much, and your business and your successes. And I got one thing else to tell you. God ain't, as I said, God ain't done with you yet.
Thank you. Thank you.
You ain't seen blessings yet. You know why? Because God looks for people who are not stagnant lakes like the Dead Sea. God looks for people who are pipelines, who are conduits, always willing to share. And the more you share, the more he's going to give you, the more other people will receive from you. God ain't done with you yet. So continue to bless people by sharing your story. It's been an hour now since we've been on here. It felt like 2 seconds, but listen. Listen, you've got to be tired right about now. I mean, I know you're tired. I know you're tired. Okay, I know you're tired. Don't be so brave and act like you ain't tired. You got to
you done run my emotions through the ringer. Lord,
you gotta be tired.
Yeah.
Gotta be tired.
And this life ain't been easy. Yeah.
So here's what I'm gonna do. It's one thing to be tired, it's something else to be weary. I don't want you to get weary. You know why? Because I am putting it out there for everybody to hear that I want you to come back and talk. It doesn't, listen, let me say, this might be Domestic Violence Month, but here's what I'm going to say. I don't know this for a fact, but I know this historically, that for this last hour, since we've been talking, I can guarantee you at least 100 women across the United States have been violated, going through violence over this last hour that you and I have been talking. And so domestic violence don't care about the day, the night, the month, the skin. It doesn't care about nothing. So we're not going to say, well, I'll have you back next year. No. We are going to get in touch with you. And when you settle down and you know how crazy I am, and you can say, listen, am I at a place where I can go back and share some more? And when you do, oh man, listen, I wish I could create a flyer and say, hey, come listen to this lady because she and all of it. But Tamika, would you please come back?
You know, I don't see a reason why not. Let's ask the chat, right? If y'all want me to come back, put a 1 in the chat. If y'all think that me and Dr. Francis should continue this situation, this conversation, this experience telling, then put a 1 in the chat for us, and that's gonna tell us what to do. We're gonna leave it up to the crowd, right?
Yeah,
we'll leave it up to them to tell us what we like to do.
But
I know
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. April. Thanks, April. Yes. But
Yes.
listen, leave it up to the crowd, but I'm leaving it up to the Lord also.
Amen, amen, amen,
Yes.
amen.
Listen, guess what? Hold on. Yes, Lord. The Lord say yes.
I think I heard him too. I
You
think I
heard him
heard him
too.
too.
Oh,
I
I
think
love it. I
so.
love it. I love it. The Lord
I
says
definitely think I
yes.
heard him.
And the chat, oh, look at that. Yeah. Oh, man. Listen. And so what I'm going to do, listen, we're going to put it out there. And when it happens, we want you to tell the whole world to shut everything down and come on to Dr. Shay, because Tamika is back. Is back. And she got a story, not a story. She is going to share her experience, and it's going to save somebody. And other people will say, you know what? If she can do that, I can do that. And one of the things about talking about it, it is so healing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
So
definitely helpful. It's definitely helpful. I mean, one, I knew that I felt from just watching you on the TV show that you'd be um, gentle with my experience and with this being my first time, but also um, I feel like this is what the Lord wants me to do to help others. When I did that video before, I was overwhelmed by the emails, the DMs, the text messages I got of battered faces, of closed eyes, broken jaws, people sharing that they had just celebrated their first year or 2 years of finally being free, or that they had just left, and that helped them to leave, or that helped them feel comfortable with their decision. And so, I think this is what the Lord planned. Um, you know, I don't. It's so crazy because I'm a planner. I love planning out what I'm going to do for the year, what I'm going to do for the month. I like setting goals. I like trying to achieve them. I like reflecting on them, but I never had this in my plan, and so I know this ain't nothing but the Lord. And so
yeah,
I just pray we definitely help somebody. Yeah, and I got one amazing, amazing mother. And I tell you, I love her with everything in me, just like I love my child with everything in me. Because there's nothing like a mother's love.
you know
It's
what?
just nothing like it.
It would be amazing for me to ask your mother when at 4 o'clock in the morning, just as if nothing happened. Oh, yes, put the baby to bed. You just need to go get some sleep. And that mother intuitively knew that you didn't drive all that way because you just wanted to
She
come
saw the
see.
police. Oh, she saw the police. And the crazy thing is, you said it nice, but my mother is not this like flowery person. She was just like, yeah, go put that baby to bed. Years later, when we talked about it, she said, I ain't gonna tell you no lie, I couldn't sleep that night because I knew something wasn't right. When I finally started sharing with her and stuff like that. She said it the next day because I needed to borrow her car to go to the library so that we could get him at the library and they could take him to jail. But when I came back that day, she was like, I just couldn't sleep because I said that child ain't sound right. And so years later, we talked about it as time went on, and she was just like, she said something just said to me, how am I gonna get hold? She said, I called you, and both the house phone and the cell phone went straight to voicemail. She said, but I just didn't know what it was, because you had said he wasn't there all day, so she didn't realize like he had came back. But yeah, I absolutely appreciate my mother. I absolutely appreciate my circle of friends and family that are just amazing to me in this life because they constantly reminded me that everything I have, I'm so deserving. And I constantly thank the Lord because I know without Him, I would absolutely be nothing. But
Mm,
I really, really thank everybody who took an hour out of their time tonight and decided they're going to sit here and join us because this helps me. This helps me, y'all. Y'all
oh,
have really helped me with this, with processing this pain. I just buried it for nearly 20 years and just thought that's where it should be. But I thank y'all so much.
let me just say this here, and this I don't even know if it would even be possible. I'm going to share this with you. You are bone of your mother's bone, and she's bone of your bone.
Mhm.
You're bone of your daughter's bone, and she's bone of your bone. Do you know what would be what I think? And I don't even know if we could do this, but you were not hurting alone. Because now that your daughter is aware of this, she is going through her hurt and her loss, her
Yeah.
grief, her pain, like you went through, like your mother went through her hurt and her pain and her grief that kept her up washing dishes at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know what would be great? If the next time you came back, you have your mother and your daughter with you.
I can tell you right now, my mama ain't playing that.
I wish I could see it. I'm gonna talk to her about it.
Listen,
But my
listen,
mother doesn't even like taking pictures.
listen. Tell her there's a man out there who's crazy enough to ask if she comes on and be on with you and your daughter, because everybody needs healing. Your mother was
Yeah,
hurt. You were hurt.
yeah,
Your daughter was hurt. You're all hurting. It makes no sense to be hopping around with crutches when there is a way to heal. You understand what I'm saying here?
yeah. No, I understand. I definitely talked to my mom. My daughter moved about 2 hours away, but so I talked to her. We'll figure out, the dates and everything, and see if they're open with joining me. I'm absolutely fine with it.
Good.
I did see that Ronnie White had a question.
As a
Has
perpetrator
your
taking accountability for his action, how does your daughter feel? See, then I see your daughter's coming up now. See what I'm talking? I'm
Yeah.
telling you, your daughter needs to be here to talk about that. Let her
Yeah. Yeah, he co-signing for you. Ronnie is. Um, uh, Accountability from an abuser is normally one with a direction of them wanting something. So yeah, he's apologized. I'm sorry. I just want our family back together. Um, I think I don't know if it was accountability truly for his impact on me as much as it was accountability because he felt like he had thrown his family away. I think, I mean, so that's probably a question for him. I never felt like he took true accountability. I feel like it was the way abusers would tell you whatever they think you want to hear to get you to come back. Um, for my daughter, I think she's still processing it. Dr. Francis and I talked about it just a bit before we got on, and or maybe early on when we did get on. And I think that my daughter's still processing it. Mind you, my daughter was a baby. She was 1 year old when this happened. And so she said to me clearly she doesn't remember. And now she's 20 years old. And the first time I had validated to her that this situation was from her dad and explained to her the remaining times of him trying to take my life. She was already 18, 19 years old when I told her. I told her last year she was 19. Um, she's already been through her challenges because he had decided to walk out of her life. She thanks me for everything that I've done. But her and I have had challenges as well. And I wonder if those challenges are, I don't wonder. She said to me that she's been angry at me for a long time because she feels like I'm mean to her dad and that like his other kids' mothers will let him come over when he wants to and let him hang out at the house. And for years, I didn't give him my address. I think he didn't have my address for 15 years or so. It wasn't until a few years ago I had given her the permission to finally give him my address. And so she always looked at it as I was being difficult. So I think she's still processing it, from my opinion. I think for her, it's still an avenue for her to grow. I feel like she still blames me for a lot of just the difficulties we've gone through. She feels like I'm stubborn. She feels like I'm putting on a facade for the world. She feels like I just need to be real, mama. Come on, bruh. They call you these crazy things these days. But I think that's her way of processing it through. We've had some pretty intimate conversations about it. And she said, you know, thank you for telling me. I didn't realize it was that bad. I'm happy you made it out. But nothing further than that.
And even if what I was saying does not happen, now that you told me that about your daughter, I would strongly suggest family therapy between you, your daughter, your mother.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
strongly suggest that because everybody's losing. Your mother lost a part of you that was not abused, but now it's abused. Your daughter was didn't understand, but now she understands what you're going through. She's lost her father. You know, all of these losses that you lost a person you love. It's just a lot of losses, and so there's a lot of grieving that needs to that's going through. So I would suggest, even if you never do what I was thinking, man, this would be great, having therapy, family therapy with you, your mom, and your daughter is important. Even if you do that before you come back, I think it would be an amazing thing to do. Okay, can you do that?
I'll
If you
definitely try. Yeah, I'll definitely try. I'll definitely put in the effort for it. It's not something I haven't considered or tried in the past. So my daughter and I have had counseling for several years,
good.
family counseling between me and her. She went through a lot of challenges because shortly after my daughter's shortly and I try not to put her business out there. I feel like she's an adult now. She should tell for herself. But um it was only maybe a month, maybe 2 months after he told her that my daughter attempted suicide, and so I'm thankful she wasn't successful with it, but I try to go lightly with her because we had to do a lot of counseling around just that,
Mhm.
um, and, my mother's a Southern, old school African American for sure mother. So she's not a big champion of counseling, but I'm open to it, and I'll talk to the both of them again. My daughter has been talking about doing it, like doing counseling for herself again, um, because that was difficult, to watch her feel like she wanted to give up on life at just 15 years old. Ah,
Tamika,
ah,
thank you more than you know. I thank you for sharing that with me. Never met in person before, sharing that with the world. Never met a lot of these people before, but your supporters are very supportive of you. And now your support system has grown tremendously. And I'm hoping that they will share this as much, you know, so that you can be a champion for the still voices of people who feel stifled. You understand? Yeah. So please, everyone here, go down there. You can see her information, scrolling across the bottom. She is an amazing woman. Please, 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 please go ahead and support her, follow her. I mean, just do whatever you got to do. Put a poster on your car. I don't care what you do. Just do something, because she has done something that a lot of women wish they could do and would like to do. And some would love the opportunity, and some would say, I just can't do this.
yeah,
But your internal strength, with you alone in your room where you are by yourself, and God, that internal strength and that spiritual component that's going on made you go through this. And for this, I want to thank you. I'm going to close it down, but please, 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 we'd love to have you back by yourself, and or just to get a family perspective, and just to get them to talk through their pain.
yes,
Okay,
sir.
Tamika,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
All right, all right. Hey, listen, I would just want to thank all the viewers out there. Oh man, what a program we had tonight. Oh, I'm tired just absorbing the energy that came through my computer, and just to watch her and get involved in her tears. Just get involved in her tears as they just flowed down. That was just purifying her soul. And she just had to do that. So I just want to thank you for being a part of her life. And listen, again, I'm going to say this. Let's shake up with Dr. Kit. You know, this is not terrible. This is not crazy stuff we do. But if you have something that you would like to share, it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what. Please email my team at drkitspeaks@gmail.com. We just want to hear from you. And if you'd like to be on a future show, just do that too. Please, please, please come on board. We want you to be on board with us. Okay. Okay. Please. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And with all of that said, thank you. God bless you. Have a good night and pray for that sister. All right. Thank you so much. See you on next week at 6 p.m. Monday, Central Time. Have a good night.